Where is Solo? Who are these guys? And how come Sims always wears a leather jacket?
So why can't we ask questions about that stuff?
With only 2 episodes left in this season, there are still lots of unanswered questions, and here we're going to break it all down with good old-fashioned sleuthing. I have not read the book, so this will be a non-book spoiler review. Also, and this is not an ad, Apple Plus is free this weekend from the 3rd to 5th, so tell all your friends to binge amazing shows like Silo and Severance. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Last episode saw Juliette barely make it out alive when the air pump used to keep her breathing suddenly stopped. Upon reaching the surface, she saw the bloody pump, a hatchet, arrow, and a trail of blood, presumably Solo's, leading upward. Episode 208 continues Juliette's quest to figure out just what exactly is going on, but that's put on hold when she experiences something called the bends. Solo warned her this could happen if she rises to the surface too fast, so she basically has to go back down to acclimatize herself to avoid this buildup of nitrogen in her blood. But the real shocking moment of the episode is this attack on Juliette by 3 unknown assailants. Since episode 201, I've long suspected there to be someone else living here, but I did not expect there to be 3. This raises many questions. First, are these guys from this silo or from the outside like Juliette? If they're from this silo, how did they live here for so long without any food or electricity? Solo also said he was the only one here. That is, if we believe him. Why would this woman have a bow and arrow when there's nothing really to shoot in the silo? Now, what if they were from the outside? Does that mean all 3 of them have suits? Or maybe they didn't. Remember in episode 203 that Solo told Juliette when his people initially went outside, they didn't die within 3 minutes like those who go out to clean. He talks about that day being a quote nice day until dust came and supposedly blew the poison back, killing them. Dust also happens to be the title of the final silo installment, so maybe these guys learned to navigate the outside world and avoid the poison without needing suits. I also found this shot of a mouse eating corn to be rather odd. How is there corn in a silo that has been devoid of sunlight and water for decades? Could these guys have brought it with them? This man, the only one credited of the 3 assailants so far, is named Rick. He says he killed the man Juliette is looking for. Does this mean Solo is dead and therefore her chances of getting her suit back dashed? I don't necessarily think so. One, I think it would really suck to have one of the main characters this season, brilliantly portrayed by Steve Zahn, to be killed off screen. 2, these guys are doing a lot to create the illusion of being intimidating. Saying they murdered Solo is one of them. They use this spotlight to hide their numbers, and the fact the person standing on this chair is the girl that will later attack Juliette while Rick is in the shadows from behind, it's all just kind of weird. Where did this power come from? And how come they didn't kill Juliette as soon as she came back to the surface? In the final scene of the episode, Juliette finds what appears to be a dead body, only for it to be a trap. They don't outright kill Juliette here, so I'm guessing we'll get more answers in the episodes to come. And there's even a hint of this in the trailer sleuthing section near the end. Lucas's quest to decode Salvador Quinn's message has finally been decoded, or at least part of it. His journey this episode sees him hunting down any books that once belonged to Salvador Quinn, believing that such a book could be used to decode the message. Lucas finds himself at the home of Terrence Pembroke, a descendant of Salvador Quinn himself, hoping that the family might have some of his belongings. Now, being a descendant of Salvador's is not looked upon too kindly by those in the silo. Salvador Quinn is seen as a traitor responsible for burning the silo's books and servers, but as Bernard tells Lucas, that was all a lie. In fact, Salvador is a hero. Everything he did was to make the silo a more peaceful place, because prior to the Great Peace, which has lasted 140 years, the silo experienced rebellions every 20 years or so. This has been documented on the wall at the bottom of the silo. So an elaborate scheme was made to separate the silo from its history in order for the people to forget about the rebellions that had come before it. This included cutting off access to the servers, confiscating books and relics, and blaming the rebels. Not to mention an elaborate plan to contaminate the silo's water supply with a memory-inhibiting drug, a drug which sounds eerily similar to the one Sims offered Patrick Kennedy to forget the memory of his dead wife. By telling Salvador's family the truth that he was actually a hero, they soften up and tell him they gave Salvador's copy of the pack to Judge Meadows many years ago. This prompts him to retrieve the book, which ends up being the key to unlocking the code. Starting on page 77, the only number that wasn't in code in Salvador's message, Lukas finds these underlined letters which spell out the phrase, "Proceed 20 paces forward, then 2. It's wanting him to go 22 pages forward to page 99. We don't get to see page 99, but we do get to see his translation of it. On the screen here, I put the translation, and it matches up perfectly with the amount of letters in the first 2 lines of the code. But if you look a little deeper, you'll find some discrepancies. Take the first word, if. Q is I, and Y is F. But look at the second word. There's a letter Y at the end. But we know the translation of the second word is you've, which ends with an E. So which is it? Is Y an F, or is Y an E? This discrepancy, as Lukas deduced last episode, is because these aren't letters, rather numbers that correspond to a specific word of a specific page. Unless we have that page, we can never solve the code, and unfortunately, this page is never shown to us. There are 12 more lines that have yet to be decoded, but if you stick around to my trailer sleuthing section, I think we get a clue on where Lukas is headed to next. I also want to briefly mention Lukas's allegiance. Even though he's Bernard's shadow, he definitely doesn't have that ruthlessness Bernard possesses. I also found it interesting that when Salvador's family asks him if it was true that members of Mechanical killed Judge Meadows, he says, "I don't know," instead of "absolutely yes." To make matters even more difficult, we have Sims breathing down his neck. Not only does he say Bernard will toss him aside as soon as he's done with him, but he threatens him, stating it would be a shame if his mother, who works in hospice, had her son as a patient. Bernard's master plan to win the rebellion involves using Walker's love for her ex against her. Last episode, he found out that Walker still has feelings for Carla, who IT currently has imprisoned. Combine that with Walker turning on her camera, he gets the feeling she wants to make a deal. Walker ends up meeting him at the groundwater pump on level 90, and this is one very shitty deal, if you can even call it that. In exchange for her being his spy, he will ensure Carla isn't tortured, and even when she divulges the plan of the raid on the supply room, he continues to make her his spy until the rebellion is crushed and things return to normal. With Bernard wanting her to keep her camera on, this is likely how they'll communicate going forward. I suspect Shirley and Knox will be looking for this apparent spy in the wake of their plan being discovered. Meanwhile, Paul experiences a breakdown, a result of his own crisis of faith. His whole life has been centered around following the pact, but now he's learning that it's all a lie. It's Shirley who tells him there comes a time where you need to take a stand. After being confronted by his wife about the Blue Ridge Mountain page from the Adventures in Georgia book, he breaks down. He doesn't know what to do. He wants to believe the pact is real, but at the same time, all the evidence is telling him otherwise. Camille continues her meddling into the affairs of her husband, using her history with Amundsen and his wife to track down what Lukas was doing for Sims. We also learn Amundsen has a child due in 2 months, so it'll be interesting to see if that comes into play. Now we head into our trailer sleuthing section, where we take a look at the season's trailers to see what could be in store next. Keep in mind this isn't an analysis of every shot, just the ones I think are relevant in the episodes to come. Here we have Lukas Kyle at the bottom of the silo. The question is, how did he get here and what is he doing? Members of the Down Deep surely wouldn't let the IT's shadow into their territory. My guess is he's investigating that tunnel found on the hard drive. There are also 12 more lines of code that he may or may not have deciphered, and there could be a line there talking about the bottom of the silo. With Walker turned informant for Bernard and a few concerning shots of raiders in the Down Deep, it looks as though Bernard might gain control of the lower levels, allowing Lukas to reach the bottom of the silo. Here's Juliette, and I'm guessing this mystery person on the left is the bow and arrow girl. It looks as though they've made it into the legacy room of Silo 17. The question is, where is Solo, and is he really dead? Could this be Solo in this shot, or perhaps the girl that attacked Juliette? It looks like Juliette is preparing to go back to her silo as she's wearing a suit. Knox and Shirley here on the attack. I'm curious if this lines up with this shot where we see a bunch of raiders guarding a room. Could it be that they're trying to spring either Teddy and the others from jail who were captured in the supply run? Here we have Paul and a mystery woman over here. He could be in some sort of medical room for children or pregnant women, as we see this large observation window and a stuffed animal. A group of raiders storm the room, pretty much confirming that Bernard takes over the Down Deep. We'll see more raiders down by the entrance leading to the bottom of the silo. I initially thought these could be members of the Down Deep wearing raider disguises, but that's seeming less and less likely. Patrick Kennedy and other members of the Down Deep look to be locked up. As I said in my last video, my guess for the ending of the season is that Bernard regains control of the silo, but at the last minute, Juliette arrives, causing absolute chaos. That about does it for this episode. Now I turn it over to you. What do you think will happen next? I want to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.